Hi, everyone. My name is Marilyn Mendoza. I'm a licensed clinical social worker, and I'm a faculty counselor at University Counseling Services. I work with a variety of different students, and I specialize in working with children and families, as I have a background with Ventura County Behavioral Health, working in children and families for 20 plus years, and now I run a parent support group at University Counseling Services. And here's my colleague.
Hi, I'm Heather Ward. I'm an associate marriage and family therapist at University Counseling Services. My two populations are college students as well as young families adjusting to change, and I'm happy to be here.
Awesome. Well, we're here today to talk to our parent students about what's going on in this topsy-turvy world right now, especially with this quarantine and the pandemic. And we just wanted to have this conversation to talk about some of the stressors that families and parents are really experiencing right now.
Yeah, I feel for so many of the families that are quarantining with children, young children. This disruption in routine has been so difficult for everyone.
Agreed. So what I do is I thought I'd bring up some of the questions or concerns that parents have expressed to me. And I think one of the first ones that I hear a lot is that, I know I'm supposed to be really treasuring this time at home with my children, and yet I'm feeling so angry, resentful, and frustrated a lot of time. And I feel so guilty about that. Are you hearing some of that too, Heather?
Yeah, and just the added responsibility with the loss of a support system, of maybe teachers, extended family, all of this support that people had, and it's gone. And then we're with our children 24 hours a day, and the expectations are so high that I just want to normalize for parents out there that you're not expected to love this every moment. You can't treasure every moment. You know, your own anxiety is probably pretty high right now, and this is so hard.
Absolutely. And that's one of the reasons I talk to students so much about asking for help. This is not an easy time. It wasn't easy before, and it's certainly much more difficult now. And so some families are privileged enough to be quarantining together and having maybe several generations or having siblings available to help them with childcare, and really asking them for that extra time to be able to maybe take a walk outside or take a shower privately, or even perhaps going to the grocery store alone, something to have that time. And I know you talk a lot about filling up your own cup, right?
Yeah,
Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. You know, parents have to fulfill their own needs or put on their own oxygen mask first before we can really attend to our children's needs. We have to be able to use self-care as a way to limit and calm our own selves down. I think about how to be attuned with our child. We can't if our anxiety's high, or we're already feeling so stressed out. And how do we ask for help? Sometimes it's really hard for parents to ask for help. And how do we do that so that we can build a better relationship with our children and be there for them during this time when they really need us?
Right. And sometimes parents, I've heard from different moms tell me that it feels very selfish to ask for alone time during this time when everybody else is stressed out as well. And we're here to tell parents that it is not selfish, that it's actually more of a help to your children and your family to be able to take care of yourself in that way so that you can go on to take care of them.
Yeah, self-care is not selfish. You provide more stable interactions and are able to set better boundaries with your children when you take care of yourself.
Mm-hmm. One thing I also hear from families right now is, so many parents are fulfilling different roles. Maybe they're in school, they're students, they're working either part-time, full-time, they're taking care of their homes, maybe they're taking care of other family members and pets, and now having this responsibility to be a homeschool teacher and feeling like they're not doing good enough, they're not doing good in any of those areas. What would you say to those parents who are struggling and worrying about whether or not they're messing up their children's education or causing gaps in education because they're not homeschooling properly?
Yeah, this is not homeschooling. No one signed up to homeschool. This is online learning. This is very different. And I think about the teachers. And I've talked to a lot of teachers, and they know that this is not homeschooling. There is not that expectation that kids are going to come back to school and be right there on target with everything. They're prepared to meet the kids where they're at. And I think we have to just let go and realize that there is better skills to build during this time than making sure that your kid has the last 3 months down of whatever grade they're in.
Absolutely. And I have worked with families who have homeschooled their children, and they're part of a larger community. They have resources, they have an online platform, they have groups for homeschooling families, and they were prepared for this. We were all thrown into this situation. So I want parents to hear me when I say that you are doing a great job. You are good enough. And sometimes we have to strive for good enough. Am I right, Heather?
Absolutely. Good enough is being really attuned to your child 30% of the time. The other 70% of the time, we're just trying to make it work and trying to get back to being attuned with our child. Good enough parenting is not perfect parenting. Our kids need to see that we're not perfect. One of the greatest things we can give our children is how to repair once there's been a rupture. And really, this is a time to really show off some of those skills of resiliency and how to handle anxiety and to give yourself a break and treat yourself with grace.
What do you say to parents who are feeling like they have to be there to entertain their child 24/7? Or they feel
Yeah.
responsibility to do that, I should say.
Yeah, I think a lot of parents feel that at times, and we sign kids up for so many activities to entertain them. And I think another great skill is independent play, especially for your younger children. They can find ways to entertain themselves by themselves. You know, really, the under 5 set has so much imagination, and they're so ready to play out those emotions. Even your elementary school kids love to do role plays and that sort of thing. It really gives parents an idea of what the kids are going through, what they're thinking about, and taking a step back and observing and not directing the play and letting them figure it out. What a great time to build that relationship with your sibling. They may, siblings may be fighting, but that is the built-in playmate in your house. And, stuck without a lot of other alternatives, they may find each other and form a bond during this time.
Now, some of us parents have noticed that our children have been using extra screen time and are feeling kind of not feeling great about that. What would you say to families about screen time right now?
Yeah, let it go. We all are using more screen time. The kids are on Zoom for school. And I think we have to look at that not all screen time is created equal. There's so many resources right now. Long Beach Aquarium is doing such amazing programs for kids of all ages. The California Science Center. There's so many different things on screen. There's museums that are doing walkthroughs all over the world that, providing quality screen time and even a little non-quality screen time is okay and can be great. For my younger set, for the preschool age, PBS, Daniel Tiger, they're putting out a lot of great things. Curious George is talking about germs. There's a lot of resources out there to find the words to talk to all different kids and get interested in something different.
And I just want to also assure parents that they are not bad parents because their kids are on on these screens. And I know that there's a lot of guilt and a shame associated with their children being on screens. And I think this is the time to really be kind to ourselves as parents, and that we carry on with grace for ourselves and our children.
Absolutely. There's going to be time to set more boundaries in the future. This doesn't mean that your child is now addicted. We say for now, this is my policy.
So speaking of policies, I hear from parents with teens and older children about having some struggles with them in terms of setting some boundaries, that it's harder to get the teens to abide by some of the restrictions that have been placed out during the pandemic, and the stay-at-home orders and the hand washing. What would you say to parents who are struggling with older children and teens who are just not wanting to comply?
Absolutely. We have to remember that these teens, they're not going to fully develop executive functioning until 25. They are children, they are stressed, and in stress we regress. These kids need boundaries, they need places to talk, and we need to expect that they're going to push the boundaries. They're pushing, they also have the same questions as all kids. Am I safe? Is mom still and dad still going to do these boundaries? And they need them. They need to know that they're safe. Those boundaries make them feel better. And if they weren't, I would be worried if they weren't pushing boundaries right now.
Right. And so also on that same note, I think it's also a time as parents for us to become a little more flexible in terms of things maybe are not getting done the way we would want them to get done, or their rooms aren't as clean as we would like them to be, or they're not helping out with chores the way that they were, or maybe they're not wearing their masks every single time that they need to, and it causes some of this friction. So I think, again, going with some grace and flexibility in what you're saying.
Yeah, definitely. I love in the house if this is a time that they want to keep their room a certain way because it's giving them a sense of control and they can't control other things. Absolutely. It's a lot of kids and parents feel like they can't control a lot of things. So, if keeping their room or not doing something around the house gives them that, and parents are okay to be flexible, that's great, because there's so many other places that parents can't be flexible.
Right. Now you are saying keep routines, and we still want to keep as much of a routine together as we can, because routines and structure keep children feeling safe.
Absolutely.
So sort of that balance then we're talking about between flexibility and routine.
Yeah, and I think it's routines, not schedules. So certain expectations of you need to get up and brush your teeth by a certain time, but it's not, at 8:30 this needs to be done, and then by 9 this needs to be done. I think a lot of parents started quarantine with some strict schedules, and they found quickly that it didn't work, and that it was causing a lot of friction and stress on themselves. So keeping a routine, not a schedule, is important for us as well as them.
Well, guiding student parents through stress is kind of what we do and what we would like to continue doing. So we're hoping that by this conversation, we're spurring some students to seek help with university counseling services. We do offer individual therapy. We have my parent support group and other quarantine support groups and other groups as well. So we're hoping you check out our website at csun.edu/counseling. We have a self-help library that has a section for parents that we hope will find helpful. And then, in those times of crises, we do have an after-hours crisis line. It's 24/7, and you can contact us at 818-677-2366, #3. Well, I really enjoyed talking with you, Heather, and I'm so glad that we were able to do this.
Me too. It was amazing. CSUN University Counseling Services has such a robust program to support parents during this time, and I hope that people take advantage.
Me too. Bye-bye.